What's going on, guys? Welcome to Tech Savvy Buyer. So today what we're going to do is we're going to help you downgrade your PS Vita regardless of what firmware you are on. Especially if you're stuck on 3.69 and 3.70, because I know a ton of you guys have messaged me asking, hey, I accidentally upgraded, I did this, I did that, how do I get back down? Well, guys, good news is that there has been a hack released for 3.69 and 3.70 by the Flow. It's called Trinity. I actually made a video on that yesterday, and I'll go ahead and post that up here, because what you will need for this to work is a hacked version of your PS Vita to do the downgrade. So before, when you were on 3.7 and there wasn't a hack available for it, you couldn't do the downgrade. But as of today, you can go ahead and do that with no problems and no frustrations or any kind of issues whatsoever, really. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through the process on your device. I'm gonna explain to you guys what are the prerequisites of stuff that you're gonna need, and then I will show you each and every step that I do along the way and kind of point out anything that I think is important to keep in mind as you do it to avoid, breaking your console or having any issues like that. By the way, I don't know of any consoles that have ever been bricked from Vita standpoint from doing any of these things, so you're pretty safe there. But I still want to give you guys the insight on anything that I learned across while doing this as well, and I think that's important. So anyways, the first thing first, before we jump into the actual tutorial portion, is that you're going to make sure, like I mentioned, that you have a hacked Vita for this to work. The other thing you want to make sure is that your Vita battery life is at least 50%. If you've installed other plugins on it because you have a hacked one that you're running on, let's say 3.68 or something, and you want to downgrade it to something else, just make sure you go ahead and disable all of those plugins. There's a couple other tutorials you can go to access on how to do that, or just Google it, look up on Reddit. There's a ton of places that you can do. I'm not going to show you specifically how to disable it, or I might cover a small portion of it, but for the gist of it, you guys should be able to get it from the net and figure it out. But anyways, I will go ahead and start off with the tutorial and show you guys exactly what you need to do. We'll go onto the computer first, and then we will take our place with the Vita. So let's take a look at all of that stuff coming up. Okay guys, let's begin the tutorial portion of this video. So here we are on github.com, and this is Flow's official repository for Modoru, which is the name of the app that we're going to actually use to downgrade the Vita. And it means to go back. Interesting little fun fact in Japanese, hence the name. Now, as I mentioned before, you're going to make sure that you have a device that's already hacked. So as I mentioned, you guys have to go use my tutorial if you have firmware 3.69 or 3.7, you can use that. I also have another tutorial on any other version below 3.69 and how you can hack that as well. You need to make sure your battery is 50%, all your plugins are disabled, and this guy here too, if that is applicable to you. Anyway, so we're going to begin very simply. We're going to go ahead and download the Modoru. And that's pretty much the only thing that you're going to download for step one basis. And you can see mine popped up with parentheses -1. That's because I already have that downloaded. While we have our computer open, we want to make sure we do another download real quick. And what we're going to look for is the PS Vita firmwares. So here's a tricky thing though. Once you click this link, you're going to get a different page here of all the complete official firmwares, starting from 1.04 all the way up until 3.7. They literally have every single firmware you want. The interesting thing that I was trying to share with you is that your system can only go as low as the factory firmware that it's shipped with. Meaning if your Vita was produced in December of 2018 and out of Sony's factory it shipped with a firmware of 3.65 or 3.68, it's not going to go lower than that. That is the absolute lowest you can take it. If you don't have that restriction and it was manufactured on an earlier year, which is probably very likely, you would be able to take the firmware down to whatever that lowest firmware level is. And ideally what we're shooting for in this video is to get our firmware either on 3.60 or 3.65. Actually, for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and do firmware 3.65. Now that I'm done ranting on about that, guys, we're gonna go ahead and click download for firmware 3.65. It's gonna open up a mega link, and just follow that to get the file downloaded. I've already gone ahead and done that, so I'm not going to re-download it just to save space, but you can see I have it here. I'm going to go ahead and open this, and I'm going to go ahead and click this guy here. Okay, you don't want to click pre or system data. You need the full version. I know people had questions around that because you get 3 of them inside. You want to click on the one that doesn't say pre or system data. So anyways, I'm going to double click this and it's going to extract this RAR and give me basically another file to extract because it was nested inside. Here's the file that we're going to need to work with. So we're going to go ahead and click extract. I'm going to put this on my desktop just so I have a place that I know where I'm going to go grab it from, and just click OK. Let it extract there. Once that's done, we can go ahead and close out, and for now we can move over to the Vita because we're going to have to connect the Vita to the computer at this point. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Okay guys, so here we are with the Vita. We have it opened up. What we want to do is make sure that we can access Vita Shell. So this is why you have to make sure that your system is hacked. Go ahead and start up Vita Shell. Make sure your device is plugged into your computer. As you can see, I have it connected here. It's a little bit dark, but it is plugged in, I promise. And what you're going to want to press is select. Once you press select, it's going to open up USB connected, and now you're pretty much ready to connect to your PC. Okay, so back over on the PC, this is what popped up, and you can see I have a couple of folders here enabled. First thing you always want to do when you're working with Vita in general is you want to make sure that you go in view and that you have your hidden items checked. You want to be able to see all that. Now, if you also notice, it did the same thing on my desktop. So what I typically do is after I'm done using anything to do with transferring data over and from the Vita, I'll just go ahead and uncheck this. So as you can see, it cleans all that up and I don't have to deal with that anymore. But anyways, for that purpose, we're going to leave this here. Now, we downloaded a file called Modoru, and what we're going to want to do is copy that into this folder right here. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up real quick, and I believe I had that somewhere here. So let's go ahead and show this in folder, right click, copy, and we will go ahead and paste that right here. Okay, so I have it pasted. Make sure you rename this too, and you always want to get rid of these redundancies. I know it's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. So here we have Modoru loaded onto the actual Vita. Now we're going to go back over to the Vita and we're going to go ahead and install this. Okay, so back on the Vita, we're still connected to USB, so we want to make sure we click circle to cancel out of that. We're going to go over to UXO, highlight it, press X. This is the directory where we copied over the Modoru app. We're going to scroll down and find that. We're going to click X. We're going to go ahead and install that and follow that process. Should only take a few seconds to go ahead and complete. Once that is done, you can go ahead and exit out of Vita Shell, and we are ready for the next step, which involves actually connecting this back to your computer. So at this point, I want to double check and make sure that Modoru is installed. I'm going to go ahead and close Vita Shell, and as you can see, it's popped up there, so it has installed. I'm going to go ahead and reopen up Vita Shell, click Start, and at this point, we're just going to press select so we can connect back to the computer. Now let's head back over to the PC. Alright, back over on the PC, you can see that the Vita directory is reopened when we clicked connect. Over here, you'll see that app is visible. If I was to disable the hidden items, you wouldn't be able to see that folder, so that's why making sure that this is enabled is important. And we actually need this for this step. So you're going to want to open up the app folder, you want to open up Modoru, and inside here, you're going to go ahead and copy that PSP2 update / file, or basically the firmware file that we downloaded from the website in an earlier step. Doesn't matter what firmware it is at this point, you're going to basically pick any one of those firmwares that you wanted to use. And the reason for that is we're basically trying to first level out what is the lowest firmware we can get to on the Vita. And then based on that, we might have to go and get another file, or we might not. Just depends. My target file that I'm looking for is 3.65, or the target firmware, I apologize. That is the firmware file that I have here, and it is loaded inside Modoru's app. Now we can go ahead and close out of this and go back over to the Vita. Okay, so once you finish transferring over the firmware to the Vita, you can go ahead and close out of this. You want to make sure that you have a couple of things set up. So head over to your settings and make sure that henkaku is still running, so you have henkaku settings on, and that you enable unsafe homebrew. At the same time, you're also going to want to make sure that your config files, like I mentioned earlier, are either renamed or deleted, or you get rid of all your plugins. Those are the config files that I'm basically talking about. They pertain to your plugins. So in this case, I don't have any because this is a fresh install, so I don't need to do that, but I will show you guys what is a quick and easy way to do that. So if you have plugins that you just want to ignore altogether, the easiest way to do that is to make sure you go to the root folder of URO, scroll over to the folder that's called Thai and just rename this. So you can see I renamed it to Thai 1, but every time you actually run henkaku, it recreates that folder. So you want to just do it once and not have to run it again. You can back out and repeat the same procedure in UXO as well. You want to make sure that you're doing that in both of them. So both of them, you can see I've already created the Thai 1 or renamed the original one. There's no plugins inside my original folder, and to verify that, if I go in, all you see is config.txt. There's no plugins inside there. Now that we have the system ready, what we're going to want to do before we do anything else is actually power off and do a reset. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do a quick reboot once all that stuff has been installed. Okay, so once we are rebooted in, what we're gonna have to do very first is go ahead and run Trinity or henkaku or h-encore, whatever it is that you guys have in your version. Since I'm on 3.70, I am using Trinity right now. Go ahead and click start, and it should bring you this prompt, which is basically saying, hey, we're ready to hack your system. Yeah, I'm just kidding with you guys. Anyways, as you can see, Trinity exploit, little animation there happened, and boom, here is where you're actually seeing the hack happening. We're gonna click exit, since I've already run that. Now, we are ready to open up Modoru. So go ahead and click Modoru, click start, and it should open up and basically tell you right there. So I'm gonna get a little bit close to this and you can see what it says here. So it says my current firmware is 3.70, my target firmware is 3.65, but the factory is 1.69. So if I wanted to bring this Vita all the way down to version 1.69, that is the absolute lowest I can take this Vita down to, which is pretty decent. In this case, I wanna get a target firmware of 3.65, so to downgrade, we're gonna press X. I'm gonna go ahead and do this live. Just pressing X, and it's gonna say continue. So we're gonna accept it, press X, just to walk through the process, and you guys can take a look at how it actually looks when it's doing that. And now it's gonna start downgrading the firmware. So for the record, guys, this can take a few minutes, and I would just go and grab a cup of tea. I'll be back. Okay, we are back in business. The install just finished. Now I want to validate that it actually installed the right firmware. And I don't think it did, just because everything is still installed on it. But who knows? Actually it did, guys. Look at that, 3.65 right there, loud and clear. And you know what the wonderful thing was? It actually let me keep most of my stuff on here that I had, except it got rid of Trinity. And obviously because you don't have henkaku on here, Vita shell is not going to work if I try and open that, and you can see it gives an error. So you're going to need to rehack it following the h-encore and or henkaku jailbreak, and not the Trinity one. But that is pretty much how you do this, guys. Anyways, let's go ahead and wind this up. Well, guys, you officially have a downgraded PS Vita, and what was cool is the fact that you can actually take a look at the firmware version that's on the system, or the factory firmware, I mean, that came with your system, so you know how low you can actually go with your firmware. And if you're chasing something that's before 3.60 or 3.65, that would have an Enzo hack to it. But most people like to do the downgrade just to get to 3.6 or 3.65, or you can do a permanent hack or the Enzo hack, and I'll put a separate tutorial on how to do that if you guys are interested in that. But anyways, that is pretty much the end of the tutorial, guys. I hope this was useful for you. I hope you guys were able to follow the instructions very easily, and if you have any feedback for me, always let me know in the comments below. I love to interact with you guys, and I'll respond to any questions as I can to help you with my limited knowledge. And don't forget, guys, the giveaway is still live. I put the link in the description below for that as well. If you want this actual PS Vita, it's this one right here in my hand. You know, it's in pretty good shape. It's got a little bit of TLC on the sides, and that's okay because it's a bit old. And this is one that I actually picked up from Goodwill.com for making of these videos. So it's not bad for a giveaway. It's definitely not a brand new one by all means. Again, this channel is not a million subscriber channel, and I do not get stuff for free to send out to people. I wish I would, and I absolutely would share that with you guys. But anyways, again, thanks for 30K. Giveaways live. Go ahead and put in. You'll get this white Vita. I'll leave it hacked for the person that wants it. Or actually I won't, because I'm gonna have to delete my information, so too bad. But other than that, guys, that is pretty much the end of this video. Thank you very much for sticking through to the end. If you're new to the channel, do consider subscribing, as it definitely helps the channel grow. And of course, leave a like while you're here. But until then, I will see you on my next video. Take care and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye-bye.